Hi folks, you're with us today, Tassus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. As you've probably realized, I'm doing videos, or Tassus is doing videos that have images now as well, or again, he used to do that, but also on an ad hoc basis, I guess, doing these voice only or audio only vids as well. So this one's about Chinese nationals buying up Western real estate. Now, you might think that they're buying up one or two houses here, or maybe a vacation home or something like that. It's not that way. They're buying up vast swathes of real estate and having a $250 million portfolio of residential real estate. This is not shopping centres or something. This is residential real estate in the suburbs. Having $250 million worth of residential real estate is nothing. How much of it's going on is hard to say, but there's no effort to check it or to stop it or to limit it or control it. And the efforts that are made are so half-assed that they can be effortlessly stepped around or avoided. But I've noticed over the last few months, there's been a few Chinese nationals being caught and prosecuted over money laundering and drug money and so on. Now, I don't know how much of this is the Chinese authorities tipping off the Western government saying, we want you to arrest this guy or that guy. Maybe they haven't paid off the Communist Party goons. Maybe the under the table slush money hasn't been paid. I mean, who knows? But I doubt somehow it's down to the vigilance of Western law enforcement authorities. I was talking to a guy in the bank who one of the big banks, and he works in the international money transfer department, and he was saying that when Chinese people transfer 10 million US dollars, it's viewed as now the low end of what the Chinese do in terms of moving money around. They don't even bother. I mean, $10 million is just toilet paper now. It's nothing. I said, well, how much money is a big, like 100 million? Oh no, that's happening every day, all the time. I said, well, how much then? So he's talking hundreds of millions is really the eyebrow raising numbers these days amongst the Chinese community, and this is just in Australia. So those sort of quantities of money going back and forth, it's not difficult for the authorities to start having a look and investigating. For some reason, they just don't seem to get round to it, which I find remarkable. I mean, wouldn't you want to? And where the money goes, why is it that illiterate peasant toilet cleaners have portfolios of five prime properties when there's just no way they could make that sort of money and no way they could pay it? Or where's the deposit coming from? So clearly they're nominees for corrupt money coming from wherever, from the Chinese goons, criminal goon squads and so on. So none of this is being investigated in the West. So I've got to assume that Western governments, in my view at least, must be going along with it. I assume this is because certainly the political class and the elite class are able to sell the properties that they buy at vastly inflated prices to Chinese money laundering goons. And so because of that, they just look the other way. It just makes the elite class or the political class just too much money. And they're clearly working in the Chinese money launderers are clearly working in concert with, I would allege, at least the big financial end of town. The corruption opportunity, influence peddling, lobbying, all sorts of things like that come into this. I mean, you've got a politician that's got some sort of power, but they're not rich. And they're surrounded by people that are rich and live a certain life of private Learjets and waterfront mansions and this sort of thing. And those politicians think, well, I've got power. I can approve this and sanction that and sign off on such and such. I want the sort of life that those guys have got. I want those waterfront mansions, and that's so. This is like a siren song that calls to the weak-minded that don't believe they're actually in government to serve the public, but they're in government to get rich. And so the big financial houses, they'll, and I've mentioned this a number of times before, they'll let the politician buy a property for, I don't know, $1 million or something. Maybe the guy does it up. It's below the market price. The deal they've got with the bank is, nah, you don't have to pay us a penny until you sell it. And if it takes you a couple of years to sell, hey, what's the problem? So, very, very favourable terms that allow them to buy a number of properties without having to put a penny on the table. And then the same big banks introduce the politician to Chinese buyers that just want to launder money, so they don't care what they pay. If they pay double, the price or triple the price, of, they don't give a shit. They're just there to launder the money, not to make prudent value proposition real estate purchases. The local people in Australia, the mum and the dad with the kid, they're the ones who have to make the value proposition purchase, but they've got no hope when they're surrounded by Chinese buyers. So the politician, then the house that they bought for $1 million, they sell for $3 million, $4 million, make a huge windfall profit. The Chinese people launder their money. Everybody's happy, so and that's really what, as I see it, what's going on. That's why the political class don't clamp down on this. Now, when you've got one Chinese national that owns 50 properties, for example, 50 properties that are $5 million a piece, then and all concentrated in one geographical area, they're moving the market. They're changing the value of every house in that area. And then when you get thousands of these people running around buying vast swathes of real estate, 1,000 Chinese money laundering nationals can own 25, 30,000 properties in Sydney. That can be a quarter to a third of all the properties for sale at any one time. That just gives you an idea of the scale of the buying. Now, just recently there was a property for sale. I drive past this property on just going to the grocery store, and the Chinese nationals there on the first day that it was put up for inspection. I was driving past as the inspection began, and it was just wall to wall Chinese, and they're in their $250,000 BMWs and Mercs and so on. They're quite young. I doubt any of them would be over the age of 30. And they're swanning around. And now I speak some Mandarin, so I can listen to what's going on. They're talking with a Beijing accent, and they're talking about all the properties they're going to see and that they've bought and so on. And I've gone to property auctions closer into the city of Sydney, and and you can follow the Chinese buyers as they go from auction to auction. It's just like a conga line where they go from auction to auction. Don't care what they pay. I mean, the reserve price might be $1 million, but they're up around $1.8, $1.9 million. Don't give a shit. They're not even turning a hair, which illustrates just how much money these people have. And yet all this is permitted and allowed and indeed encouraged and supported by the Australian government, and in fact all governments. And so the practice continues. Now it's raised the cost of living, raised the cost of mortgage, the cost of rent. Everything has been very adversely affected by this, and so much so now that really less than a quarter of the population, working population, can afford to live independently now. The rest of the people have to live communally. This is Australians, people born here, generations here. That's how difficult it's become now for the cost of living. And a big part, not the only part, but a very big part of that is allowing foreign buyers, Chinese, then Indians, and group buying, nominee buying, money laundering, all that sort of stuff is being permitted and encouraged, and it is having an extremely adverse effect. Now, the odd one or two Chinese are getting caught, but I mean, when they get prosecuted, it's one I'm looking at now. He's got just shy of $300 million property portfolio. $1.5 million of motor vehicles, hundreds of $1,000s in cash, more jewelry worth several $100,000 or millions in this case. The list goes on, and yet these people can be around for years before the authorities notice them. I don't buy that. If they wanted to clamp down on these people, they could. They just don't. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.